I wish my parents didn't make the sacrifices they made.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Otutu, and you can see I have guests with me. Before I introduce them, we are pairing. We're swimming in the same clothes, the same name. So my name is Otutu, and with me here I have Kibaba, I got only me, and then we have D for short. So I brought my friends here to discuss some topics that are very controversial. Firstly, we grew up in Nigeria, and there are a lot of things that we all share in common just growing up in Nigeria. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a particular video that I saw on Instagram where one girl was talking about the sacrifices that our parents made. So I'm going to play the video for my friends to watch, and then I want to hear their opinions and see how, or whatever our parents did, how it affected them, how it affected us, and if it's something that would also continue. So let me get the
I wish my parents didn't make the sacrifices they made. Because I'm starting to realize that I wish you guys put yourselves first so that you could feel fulfilled within your life. Because some of the sacrifices you made were things that didn't need to be such a sacrifice. So it's like, as much as I appreciate it, I also understand why it shouldn't be repeated, and that I need to focus on making sure for myself as a young woman or as an adult that I'm able to fulfill for myself, and that my children are not my sense of my source of joy. Like, let me be okay so that you don't have to make me okay. Oh yeah, do your grades properly so I'm happier. Or I need to be fulfilled in myself so that my children can have their space to grow in themselves.
First of all, I'll let them speak. I think we're just going to say what we think. First of all, do you agree with what she said? Is it 100% for you, or?
I mean, first of all, I don't know her experiences and whatever sacrifices her parents made, right?
Yeah.
But coming from where we came from, I feel like that statement is a bit privileged, and I'll try to explain. So, we grew up in how I put this, so for lack of a better word, in a typical patriarchal society, where the man is responsible for bringing stuff into the house, and the woman is responsible for taking care of the kids, right?
Yeah.
So, most parents did not have the luxury, I'd say, of being individuals and being parents.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, when you have a kid, or when you have a child in Nigeria, that's your core focus. That immediately, every other thing becomes secondary, right? And it's not just in Nigeria. As a parent, once you have a child, from the get-go, it sacrifices. No one intends to lose hours of sleep, right? But once you have a child, you start sacrificing sleep. You start sacrificing a lot of things, and it makes sense, right? Because this is a child, it's an infant. They can't fend for themselves.
Yeah.
So the moment they come into this world as a parent, you're in sacrifice mode from the jump. Do you get it? Now, of course, there are certain things that I look back on and I'm like, okay, maybe if my parents had done certain things differently, they would not need me to now come and, they would not need to see me as like a, retirement fund. That's typically how the average Nigerian parents sees their kids, right? Yeah. But then again, we need to understand that they didn't have certain support systems that could afford them to be individuals, maybe chase their dreams, do something different, and still raise us and be parents at the same time. Do you get?
Yeah.
So I understand what she's saying, but I also think that it's easier said than done. Looking back in hindsight to be like, oh, I wish my parents didn't do this. But if they didn't make certain sacrifices, she probably wouldn't be where she is today. She probably wouldn't be in that situation to say, I wish my parents didn't make certain sacrifices. That's what I don't know her situation or the context she's making that statement from. But growing up where we grew up, there were certain sacrifices that our parents made that in that moment were the only options that they had. Do you get? Yeah. I feel like if our parents had a lot more support in, raising kids and in the structure around family, right? It would be possible for more parents, and in this case more mothers, right? To not just be mothers only, but they can also pursue careers. They can also, go out and do stuff and still come back and be parents. Because the typical family setting in Nigeria is what we call the patriarchal one.
Yeah.
The man goes out, the woman stays at home, takes care of the children. The man goes out, gets the bread, comes home, right? And so in that case, we are trading off certain things. As the woman, I mean, you probably had dreams of your own, you probably wanted to be a businesswoman, a doctor, but you can't now because you have this being that you have to cater for. And so what then ends up happening is that parents then project what they could have done, you now project that on the kid, and now you cannot make mistakes, you cannot take risks, because it's like, I am making this sacrifice just so that you can have the life that I never had. You can achieve stuff that I never achieved. And so they try as much as possible to ensure that you're more successful than them, because they've quote unquote sacrificed a lot for you. You get? So as much as I see where she's coming from, I feel like it's easier said than done. In the real world, it's not as applicable as you would say it.
Yeah, thank you. So Raji, you kind of disagree.
Of course it doesn't.
Like we had this argument days ago, and I don't agree, right? I get where it's coming from. And yes, we grew up in a patriarchal society and all that. But then sometimes, and it's what women were told then, and we're getting to learn better. It was as bad as saying that you had a cesarean section to have your child labels you a bad mom. Talk more of maybe leaving your child at home and going to work, even when that kid has somebody at home to take care of the person. That was a problem, right? So I get where she's coming from, and I've seen situations where because you had a kid and they told you automatically you should be a housewife because you have a kid, and then the mothers now put everything they have inside that child. I was with a woman when I was in secondary university, and when her son came back from school, she was going through his book. She was like, "Oh, what did you learn today? Oh, what's outside? Oh, tell me what is outside." Because she stopped. What she told me was, if I don't see outside through this boy, there's no way I can see outside again. So if that kid now, for example, maybe goes on to university and decides he doesn't want to be talking to his mom, maybe like every day, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Because
whose eye will she see the world from? So that's the point, and that's where I see that where she's coming from. I know that in my family right now, there's a sacrifice. My mom, I'm appreciative of it and all that, but every single time I tell her, you shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done it. If you didn't do it, then we would know where we are today. And that's a problem. So as much as when you have a kid, you want to give your all, you want to sacrifice, and that's why we need to be reminded every time that make use of your support system. Take this child and there are people there to help you. That if you have people to help you, I'm speaking from a privileged point of view. Yes, but then even if you like,
we need to establish that.
Yeah, I know that I'm speaking from a privileged point of view, right? But there's people have that privilege, but because as he said, it is very easy to lose yourself when you have a kid. That's why many mothers are reminded that. First and second, families are told that when a woman gives birth to a child, she shouldn't be the primary carer for that child immediately. Because if you just give birth to a baby all through that stress and then you become primary care, that's when you begin to see some things like postpartum depression, you lose your mind, you lose yourself, you look into the mirror, you can't see yourself again. And it's easy to do that, easy to fall into it. That's why I recommended to, yes, sacrifice, but then drop a line there. Like, I have seen people do the balanced thing, raise children, and live for themselves. And I think, and I know, and I've seen it can be balanced.
That's possible when you have a support system, right? Like you can't have a child, right? And it's very, very difficult to have that balance without a support system. You cannot be a new mother now, and the next thing on your mind is you want to go back to your career. Who's going to take care of that child? Like this is an infant that literally just came into the world that you have to care for. So yes, you need not to be the primary carer for the child, but there are certain things that you need to do as a mother and also as a father. It's not just the mother.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That so it's something that people need to hear.
It's only possible if you have the right support system in place, because it would be selfish to say, now that this child has come into the world, I want to go back to work. Okay, you want to go back to work. Who is going to cater for the child? If you have, say, your husband's mother or your mother in place, that's perfectly fine. Or your husband, exactly. That's perfectly fine. But someone has to be there. And again, it boils down to someone has to make that sacrifice. Is it your husband that is going to make it?
It's not about sacrifice. If you have people. So, there are people that have people. But then those people don't show up because they don't talk. Like, they are not speaking that, hello,
but whoever is going to be there that you are not paying, would be sacrificing something to be there.
Yeah, if you see, there are sacrifices, right? If you carry, just like the Bible said, carry this burden and give me. If you share the burden with somebody, it becomes easier. Exactly.
So, yeah, but there are some people who don't have people that they can drop that burden.
Yeah, I get it.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That
Yeah,
if you have support system, make use
of it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but some people don't.
Yeah, I get what
not
you're
even some. Most people don't.
Most people
But
do.
in Nigeria, we are a community people.
Yeah,
So most times when you give birth, you actually have people. But
But
my own is not even from there.
Wait.
We'll go back to that place.
Okay.
I think for me, where my own issue even boils down to, first off, I even think that the root cause started where they made women believe that if you don't have children, when you get married, you're not whole.
Yes.
I think that's even where the problem is coming from in the first place. Like I know that when people get married, the next thing, after like 2-3 months, they're asking you, do you have a child? Do you have a child? Some people even believe that the only reason you should get married is so that you can bear children. So automatically, this woman now thinks that the child is the only thing. So once they give birth to that child, everything should revolve around that child. Everything that I'm not even supposed to talk about going back to which career when you have a child. I remember one celebrity, when she put to bed, after 2 weeks, she went out on a date with her partner. You need to see the way people rush this woman. That how can you leave a 2-week-old baby? I just still feel like the world, like the society, has like 80% of the reason why most of our parents, especially our mothers, sacrifice a lot, because they believe that once you have a child or once you have children, every other thing should be secondary. But I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's the case. I just feel like I know that yes, the care the mother would give would not be 100% compared to what the father would bring. But I just still feel like if back in the days our fathers supported strongly the way people are doing now, I still feel that in one sense, in the sense that, okay, let's say when most times fathers don't even to bear the child. They can't. In Nigeria, when a man cooks, he's praised. When a man gives what's it called, takes their kids bath, he's praised. When a man dresses the children for school, oh, my husband is helping out. They bow down to him like the child is not yours.
But taking that society into context, like we said, right, the roles were defined. Yeah, the man's role was to go out to fend for the family. The women typically.
Sometimes
I did not land.
Okay.
Land, let me see.
Now we're not. You guys should understand that we're not talking about modern times here.
Yeah,
things have changed, and that is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, in our parents and their parents' days,
the
roles in that society were defined. We had gender-specific roles.
Not in my parents' age, in our parents' age, the women were
already going out to bring money.
I'm not even in many families in Nigeria now.
The women are the ones taking care of the
family.
I'm not disputing that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I am saying that prior to that change, there were gender-specific rules. Are you denying that?
I agree.
Which was not working.
Which was not even fair. It was very unfair.
We can have a separate conversation about whether or not that system was fair or whether it was working.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying that we do agree that there were gender-specific rules.
Yes.
There were things that were expected of a man who had a family to do.
Yeah.
And there were things that were expected of a woman who had a family to do.
Mm-hmm.
We do agree that.
Yeah.
Now, we also do agree, knowing that fully well, that we did not expect men to bathe newborn babies or to care for newborn babies. Knowing, like, now I'm not saying whether it was right or wrong. I'm just saying we do understand that, given that, delineation between the two genders and their roles, it was not expected of men to do that.
So
it's not an argument for it. I'm just saying that we did not expect
society.
that. You guys were not born. We were not born. I am saying we in the context of that time and that society. It was not expected that men did that.
Yeah.
Just the same way it was not expected that when you get married, your wife should go out to hustle. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it was not expected. So when that crossed, like those roles crossed, and men would do that, or men would go into the kitchen, which again, to me, I don't think that should be gender-defined roles, but back then it was, right? I mean, I cook for you. I'm just putting that. I'm just putting it out there, right? This is not an argument for that time. I'm just explaining why things were the way it was that time, right? So when men started to do that, no, it's a new thing. And just like anything novel, it will be praised, whether it should be done or not. It will be, it's the same way when people build roads that as a government official you are meant to be, you praise them, but it's your job. But in that society, it's quote unquote novel, right? Yeah. The people in position aren't doing that. So when someone who's in position does it, it's like, yeah, we should be doing it. Do you understand? So now again, just to be clear, it's not an argument for that system. I'm just explaining. I'm just explaining why. Just explaining why things happen the way they did.
Yeah.
Right. So
I just but at that time where people were defining what and what's nonsense to women were outside frying akara and taking care of the family while men were there sitting on their butts. And still you see a woman carrying the baby in the back. We
I think they couldn't fit. Well, we're living the life. So what I think is I just feel like I wish our parents knew better that life should not just revolve around the children alone, because I know that most parents are bitter. I feel like a lot of our parents might have gone through massive deep depression and anxiety. Probably they didn't know what it meant because this was not the life they envisioned.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done better for themselves, but they didn't know. So some of the sacrifices they made were not needed, were not necessary. Yes, I know that the sacrifices
what
they
kind
made.
of sacrifice I'm talking about here?
I mean, it differs.
So it differs. It depends on the family. Like saying a mother now or someone that owns. I can remember one of my aunties that had this very big role. She had to resign from it because she needed to be home. But it could have just been a situation where if the money was enough, hire a nanny, take your leave, and once you're done, you go back to work and still continue pursuing your career while raising the kids.
Yes.
Now resigned and she's back at home doing mostly nothing, and she's always bitter, and sometimes she's like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do that. And the children still turned out okay. There are some families that the parents are both career driven and their children turned out very okay.
Okay, but there are women who choose to make these sacrifices willingly.
No, if you choose to do it willingly, I don't have a problem.
But imagine a situation where you choose to make the sacrifices willingly and your child is like, I wish you didn't have to do that.
Well, so it's just like someone helping you. You didn't ask the person for help, right?
Yeah, the child didn't ask to
so
be here.
The problem with this willingly was that non-willingly or non-willingly or so whatever it is, right? Is the problem is that because they did this, they now begin to look at you to further a certain line.
Exactly.
And if you mistake,
and then there's this expectation
they don't want.
You can
even for men and their sons. You will see a man building a company say, oh, I built this company for you, and you don't want to take it over.
Exactly.
How about he grows up and wants to become an actor and doesn't want to sell wine?
So
have a wine
this thing she's saying now 100% makes sense, because the man will be like, well, after everything I've sacrificed to build this company for the family, you're telling me you're not interested? I don't know if you get that. And then they will now start seeing like, oh, because I did this for you, this is the path you have to follow. And then, we black people, especially in Nigeria, most people that studied medicine did not do it because they wanted to do it. But because of the sacrifices the parents made, and then said, oh, you have to do this because I had to work to put food on the table to pay the school fees. A lot of people are on the course or in the field of study that they didn't intend to do. But because our parents made some sacrifices and they believe that this is what I expect you to do because I've done this for you, you must do this. Do you get? And because of those sacrifices as well, we are forever grateful. I'm speaking from a place of privilege. We are forever grateful for what they did. But I just still feel like because of those sacrifices, there are a lot of people that would have pursued something different, but they couldn't because of maybe guilt that, oh, my parents did this, I have to do this to repay them.
Exactly.
You don't agree?
Oh no. I can't speak on other people's experience. It's why I prefaced my initial statement. I don't know her personal experiences, right? And I think that it's easier said than done.
Of course, obviously.
Do you get? Because from the jump, you're in sacrifice mode as a parent. Yeah. So it's. I get the part where parents tend to put this certain expectation on you as far. I mean, my parents wanted me to become a medical doctor. So
how far? You went left.
I'm shooting YouTube videos. I should be performing surgical. But then again, I get that part, and it can be as an individual right, it can be quite, it can feel like it's selfish, the expectation, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that they are making it from a point of
selfishness. No, I 100%
No, it's
agree.
not.
Of course,
It's
yeah.
absolutely
I'm trying to view,
Selflessness.
I'm trying to view it from the perspective of a parent in this case. Who,
Yeah.
for most of their life, right, all they've known how to be is to either be a mother or a father, right? So it's like, okay, I was doing X, Y, Z, and then I had a kid. I was watching this. There's this series, Episode Family on Netflix, an animated series. Kind of touches on the subject a bit, but and that again can lead to a bit of resentment,
100%.
both on the part of the parent
And the kid.
part of the kid, because it's like, first of all, as a kid, I didn't ask to be here.
Yeah.
But now that I'm here and I can think for myself, I want to do X, Y, Z, but you're like, no, you have to be in DC because I brought you into this world and I've made certain sacrifices for you, and you absolutely have to do it. It's like, but I don't want to do
Like
that.
it's not a transaction.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
decided to make it. You didn't even ask. You didn't ask for an opinion.
Yeah, but then again,
You made it, then you shouldn't force it down my throat.
you didn't know.
I can't wait for us to be parents.
No, but you didn't
I'm like,
know
it's my
better
word.
as a child. And you did not know better.
But I feel like that's why people should be like this kind of thing. It needs to be reminded.
Yeah, true.
Because
Because
I
most
remember,
times you
yeah,
forget.
Because remember Blackish. I
Right.
remember when Bo wanted to quit her job, and then Drake kept telling her, "No, you remember that you want." Because when she gave birth to Devante, say, "No, you remember you have to go back to work. You want to be a doctor. You want to be a doctor."
He kept reminding her.
You know, and every time she comes back home and sees Devante, maybe Devante is working
Yeah,
and
and
she
she's
wasn't
not
there.
there.
And Dre reminded her that you at least you came home and met him working.
Is there someone,
We
is
sent
there someone
him-
taking care of you?
Yeah,
Yes.
the grandma was
The
around.
grandma-
Exactly my point. Like, she's able to, and again, this is not.
No, you're not understanding. Even people that have the support.
Forget. This is very
Forget.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
what I'm saying, right? It's a choice that most people willingly make.
No, I think you're not getting it. What we're saying is that sometimes
easy
they
to enter
forget
sacrifice
it.
mode.
So if you enter sacrifice mode and then you
whatever.
lose yourself and forget that, oh, you had this goal you wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
And that's why
society
it
is making you
remember
think that you don't have
No,
to go
not
back.
society is making you think. There are people who.
Part of
There are people
society is
who
part
want.
of it.
There are people who want to be mothers.
I'm not talking
Why
about
still want to work?
I'm
No,
telling
there
you, I'm
are
not
people
talking
who
about
want
those
to be mothers.
people.
Full-time mothers.
Yes, these are what I am talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm not talking about those. I'm not talking
Okay.
about willingly.
This talking about forgetting.
This particular one, Bo was, and why she started feeling that bad was when she went to their school.
Mhm.
To I think it was a day or so she went to bake pie or something, and then there were all these mothers that one was like, "Oh, I was a surgeon then, and because I left my kids, I'm now a full-time wife." Blah blah blah, and she was feeling bad. Oh, she missed Devante's working. She missed when Devante talked and all that, and she was contemplating staying at home. And Dre was like, this is
That's
not
her husband.
Yeah, this is not what you really want. Yeah, this is happening, but you want, remember that you want to be a great doctor or something like that. So if you do this now, you will hate it later. So we are here. When you come back home, you will take care of Devante. In the morning, you go.
Go to work.
It is easy to forget, and that's why people need to be reminded that remember you had this goal. You can still achieve it, and we will help you.
Sure.
Okay, and then also there are people who want to be mothers, and when
That's
I say
fine,
they
now.
want to be like the example you gave, the women who quit their jobs.
Yeah,
It is 100% okay.
And
these
these people will also make sacrifices for their kids,
yeah,
and their kids may or may not
Agree.
look back
and say
on that and be like, I wish you did not have to do that. And from the parents' perspective, that would be unfair.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Just-
actually,
Yes, I again, they might not. There are some people who they did not quit, right? They did not quit their jobs because they want their kids to grow up and then eventually become breadwinners for them, right? They just love the fact that you can actually nurture something to life.
Yeah.
You can train a child. Like it's actually one of the most beautiful things. I'm not a fan.
I'm not disagreeing.
It's actually one of the most beautiful things, right?
Yeah.
And there are people who want to dedicate their all, like their time, to being mothers, and that does not come without sacrifice.
Yeah, but someone also needs
So-
to, especially I feel like it's also the part, like a partnership thing with your husband, because sometimes it's a oh my god, this baby is so cute, I want to be there for them, but then you as a partner, you know that this person would later hate it, because there are situations like that.
True.
Right? I know an example, my mother, right? Every time we discuss, I always tell her, she's like, I love this, I wanted to be home for you, but I also wish that this, and I also tell her that you could have done this and done this at the same time, but there was no one to remind her at that point that you can do both of them. Because someone needs to tell you that when you're out, I will hold down the fort. When you come back, you will hold it down while me, I go to.
That is a privileged system.
I'm talking about
Exactly.
No,
That's
don't
what we're
have
saying.
no, you can't say most people. You don't have survey now.
I'm talking about in Nigeria.
There are people that have people and still forget.
I didn't say
and there are
everyone.
also people
Like,
that
most
want to be
people.
mother. I have seen people that want to be total family people, and
Yes.
it's beautiful. And my cousin wants to be, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Some people decide that my life is not to go and make money. You go make the money while I stay home for this child. That's absolutely amazing. There are people that know that growing up, that career is I'm very gifted with kids. I want to be a mom. That's okay.
So let's summarize before the battery dies. So guys, so we didn't come to a conclusion, but we didn't come to a conclusion. We can't. So I think is whatever works for your family, whatever works for you. I'm hoping that I also don't lose myself when I become a mom. So let us know what you guys think. Yeah, I know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, in relationships.
Hopefully your kid doesn't make a TikTok video.
No, but see, I forgot one thing. I liken this when we're talking about it. I liken it to relationships and compromise. If you love,
that would be a different topic.
yeah, so like if you love somebody, you want to compromise, but you need to be reminded that while you're compromising, don't lose yourself. It's the same thing.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. We're going to have another topic to discuss as well, so be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't for more videos from us. And let's know what you think about this topic. Do you think all the sacrifices were worth it? Do you think they could have maybe done better for themselves? If you understand what I mean. But then, thank you so much, and we'll see you in our next video.